Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Journey Success Stories podcast. I'm Jennifer Shuffle, your host, and today I am with Geoff Waby. Welcome, Geoff.
Thanks very much. I'm very happy to be here, Jennifer. Happy to have a
Oh,
good discussion this afternoon.
absolutely. We're so excited to have you. And he is the co founder and chief compliance officer of Chemica. So we're going to dive into what is and who is Chemica? What do they do? But even more importantly, how did Geoff get to where he is today? Because journeys along the way, as you all know at this point, they're all different to get to business ownership. But if this is your first time to the show, welcome and thank you for being here. Make sure you like and subscribe because we want you to get notifications in the future when we have more episodes dropped just like this one. And of course, you're going to want to come back time and time again to learn more about Geoff because he's going to have some really great tidbits that we're all going to want to leverage in our businesses. So, Geoff, welcome to the show. Thank you again for being here. I would love for you to tell everyone about you and a little bit about the business.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I'll start with the business a little bit and then tell you my journey of how I got here very briefly, and then we can go in a little bit more detail on both. So the business is called Química. It is in Spanish and Portuguese. It's chemistry or chemicals. There's a U missing, but we that makes it nice and simple to put up on a background. What the problem, as my background is in real personal care, the beauty, the cosmetics industry, and it's a great industry. It's involved in people's health, well-being, self-image, and those are very important areas of all sorts of people around the world. And people suffer with that and struggle with that. And so I think that the personal care and wellness industry has a large impact on the world. The problem with the industry is that it is, or one of the beauties of the industry is that it is very variable. So if a product takes off on TikTok or some other social media, then sales go through the roof. Everyone launches every product with lots of optimism about how well it's going to do. Some of them don't do as well as they should. So that's that the demand for the products is very variable. And one of the difficulties is in supply planning. So everyone is purchasing raw materials and ingredients based upon forecasts of how the business will go. And as I've said, if it takes off, then you suddenly find you're short of materials. And if it slumps on a particular brand or product, then you find yourself with excess. And today, the only solution for excess materials, because materials have a life, they have an acceptable life, by which time you have to use them up. And so the only solution these days is to dispose of them. And that has a burden on the environment, has a financial burden on the companies, and a burden on the environment as you dispose. So we set up Química to solve that problem and to introduce a new way of handling excess, good quality raw materials, which are coming to the end of their life. So that's the company. I'll return to explore a little bit more about how that works and how it's going. I'll tell you how I got here. So as I said, my background is in personal care and beauty. I'm English, as you can tell from my accent. I began in the UK with Procter & Gamble and then transferred to Brussels a couple of times and really joined the quality assurance organization there. And I've been focusing on quality assurance compliance since about halfway through my P&G career. I ran various organizations in Brussels, in Europe, and then joined Estée Lauder from P&G, also in Belgium, and ran the European Organization for Quality Assurance for Estée Lauder. I transferred with Estée Lauder across to the US in about 2011 and ran the North American Quality Assurance Organization for Estée Lauder. Had a corporate role, left Estée Lauder about 5 years ago and joined a contract laboratory in the Cincinnati area and worked there for about 4 or 5 years. I left a couple of years ago and I'm now an independent consultant. I do quality assurance and regulatory affairs. I work with a company based in Europe who has been doing regulatory affairs for a number of years. Once the MOCRA regulations for cosmetics, which is the Modernization of Cosmetics Regulations Act, was passed in 2022, then regulations in the US moved more towards the EU model, which had been much more closely regulated for many years. didn't replicate it, in many ways didn't go as far as it so far, and it's still in the process of being implemented. But we started opened up a whole new channel of people needing regulatory affairs consultation. So I do some of that. And then that brings me up to really Kimica. And I met my co-founder. There are two of us. We co-founded the company. I met him while we were doing some transfers of volume from Estée Lauder into a contract manufacturing organization. We took the Estée Lauder from one of their smaller customers to their largest customer in only 3 or 4 months. We got on very well. He has a sales background. And so when this idea came up, then we decided to join forces and launch Kimica. And then the work began.
Oh, that's so cool. And I have the privilege of having a huge background in chemical manufacturing. I was more of an accountant at the time, but I had to work very closely with our plants as far as operations, as well as our quality people, our supply chain people, because every single move creates some kind of financial impact. So when it comes to supply chain, yes, everything does have a shelf life, as people are familiar with their milk in the refrigerator. How do these organizations, if things are getting to be, I don't know, a couple months out, or what does that look like for you guys as to, yes, I want it now, or is it a year out, 6 months out? Like, what does that kind of look like? And how does that supply chain also work as far as you guys getting that raw material?
Yeah. So you're right. As people see a large, expensive raw material reaching the end of its useful life, um, at the moment or in the past, or even today, the option they've got is to ring round people they know, other manufacturers in the industry. Often it's one contract manufacturer to another contract manufacturer. Hey, I've got this surplus raw material. Would you like to take it off my hands for a deep discount? And those transactions happen. So some of those are successful, but it takes a lot of time and effort. It's not core work for anybody. It's all a distraction, and the return is very low because you've just got to go find somebody who happens to want that raw material and um, and wants to buy it and trusts that the raw material is in good condition, because there are certain elements to make this into a marketplace. So what we do is make this into a marketplace, and there are certain important, very, very important factors, one of which is trust. So if I'm going to buy raw materials from you, then I need to have a really high level of confidence that you've kept it in good condition. It's been in your warehouse in appropriate storage. You've kept it clean and dry, and it hasn't deteriorated in any way. And you've got all of the original documentation. So that's one large element of it. You need to have trust between a buyer and a potential seller. The other one is, as I touched on a moment ago, is the opportunity. So today it's all informal phone calls, someone taking time out of their normal working day to have a call with people they already know. But if we can bring that all together into a single marketplace where if I have excess materials, I can upload it into the marketplace, then, and other people, lots of other people have visibility to that, then they can look for materials that they're willing to buy at a price that I'm willing to offer it. So it's very mutually beneficial, as I say, provided there is trust and there is the opportunity to see the material is available. From a buyer's point of view, then they get on the other end of the supply whiplash. They have got high demand, immediate demand for raw material because something's going through the roof. And if they've got visibility to a marketplace where they can buy at a discount material which is readily already available to them that they can order, then they can go on the marketplace and purchase that. So there are significant incentives both to purchase and to sell, and just having a marketplace in which there is a strong level of trust are the keys that we're building up amongst people. But every time we talk to someone and anyone in the industry, and not just this industry, in other industries as well, they all say, "Yeah, this is just a huge problem." And when
Yes.
you talk to contract manufacturers who are working for the biggest multinational brand owners, usually somebody's paying for this material somewhere. So it's always supply planning is one step removed when you've taken your brand and put the supply in the hand of a contract manufacturer. You're one step removed from demand. You're one step removed from ordering. You're one step removed from monitoring the inventory. And therefore lots of bills come up from the contract manufacturer back to the brand owner saying, sorry, but I've got this excess materials and we've got 3 or 4 months left before I have to dispose of it. Please write me a check so that I can dispose of it. Now relationships are strong between those people. They have a lot of dependence on each other, but just that conversation alone puts strain into the relationship and causes a diversion that we can take away.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So many questions. The first one, when we strengthened our requirements back into 2022 to the EU model, maybe not all the way as you had mentioned, what did the marketplace look like at that time? Did we have a lot of raw material that then had to be disposed of because it wasn't meeting the standards now? Or was there a certain amount of time for us to use them up, which is normally the case, but maybe not always? Like, let us
Well,
know a little bit more about what does the
yeah,
market look like?
sure. This is again is an important part of the US market because the MOCA, the federal regulations, they cover a lot of areas. So making sure that product is safe, which is very, very important. And it's always been true, but it added some definition to what that looks like. Making sure that you're collecting feedback from your customers who buy the product and maybe have an adverse reaction to the product when they use it. So that was included in MOCRA. There were other aspects to it, one of which is very, very similar to Europe, which is fragrance allergens. So certain fragrance materials in Europe, they have recently increased their number of fragrance allergens to in the 80s. And if you have one of those fragrance allergens in your product, you have to declare it on the label. So US followed suit with that. And they said by, I think it was middle of last year, that they would come up with a list. Nobody knows whether it's going to be a list the same as the EU, different from the EU, what it will be. But that has been repeatedly postponed. So we don't yet know which materials, fragrance materials, are going to become surplus because people are going to want to take them out of the product and not put them on the label. Other raw materials, the federal regulations left it to the states. So the states are the ones who control either the quantity of a raw material which is allowed, or banning a raw material and making it not allowed. So the states are extremely active at this moment, passing regulations, multiple regulations in multiple states with multiple different levels of allowable regulation. So it's a huge problem for the industry. I think so that wave of excess materials is still to come. There's always enough time to react. So that's not going to be a key driver for the business. The key driver for the business is the large volume materials, or maybe the medium volume materials, which don't go into every one of your products. And therefore, if those particular products, which include those raw materials, start to go down in demand,
Right.
you end up with excess materials. Or, I mean, I talked about the one step removed in terms of a brand owner to a contract manufacturer in terms of supply planning. People do have fat fingers and make mistakes on
Oh,
the computer and order. I mean, I've known an example where somebody ordered like 10 times more than they should have done. And all you can do at that point is say, sorry, but we've got this excess material. Can we deal with it, please? So
yeah. I,
those are the main areas where it will come as just natural business across all of the raw materials, again, as the volatility of the market has its impact upon the supply chains of the brand owners and the contract manufacturers.
yeah. And I can attest to you can truly fat finger something and you don't even realize that it happens. Um, it is. It's part of it, and I mean it from supply chain on, it just there's so many people that get involved, especially when you have these mass volumes. So absolutely. One of the things that you had talked about was trust. And this is something that's huge as business owners and even us that are out in the market. But do you guys do any kind of like site visits or anything of that nature to kind of, because if it's a brand new relationship, like what does that kind of look like for you guys?
Yes, yeah. So we've designed all that in very carefully, and also we're launching it amongst. So we're selecting the people we launch it with. So we're selecting the people, the top tier of contract manufacturers, the top tier of brand owners. So the people who they're used to working together in industry associations. So they're competitors and fiercely competitive, and nothing that happens in an industry association must get in the way of that competitiveness. However, those kind of companies are used to taking a larger point of view. So knowing that if they do what's right by the end consumer, for the environment, do what's right for all their suppliers and clients relationships, then what goes around comes around. So if you build that relationship, that network of people who are trustworthy and have gained that level of trust and demonstrated that level of trust, then that's where we're starting. It's a closed network as well, so people are invited in to participate. And yes, we put a lot of effort and thought and work into quality agreements. So everyone must sign a quality agreement. And with my background in P&G and Estee Lauder, there's what's in there is what an Estee Lauder or a P&G or a L'Oreal or a Unilever would demand of their own sites and their contract manufacturers anyway, or the good stewardship of materials, the care and concern about materials, maintaining quality of materials, etc. So the quality agreement really merely or simply requires them to live up to the highest industry standards, which are in place at the moment. And then we have an assessment. So we will go on site and assess that they really are living up to these standards, and that if I buy materials from someone, it is the same as buying it from a distributor or from the original manufacturer as much as possible, or using it from my own warehouse. Their warehouse should be operating to the same standards as my warehouse when we choose and select the companies that we launch with
Yeah.
to begin with.
Yeah. Awesome. The agreements between organizations and contract manufacturing. It's so cool to get to see and read those agreements. They're huge, so they're not super enjoyable to read, but it is really neat because you've thought through everything. So I love the risk mitigation that you guys have really taken. So tell us, how long has the business been around at this point, and what stage are we in, and how many employees do we have?
Okay, well, there's two of us at the moment and a business development guy. So we've got a business development guy helping us to get into all of the people, the target audience. We've been working on it for about a year now, so it's taken that long to get a working platform up and running. So we have a working platform which does the minimum functionality and which we can show to companies to invite them in, so that we can talk through, here's how the platform will work,
Mhm.
here's how the whole relationship will work, and here's how you buy and here's how you sell. So we have that platform now. We have, as I say, some investors. We're still we're still talking to investors to get more investment. We're talking to clients to get more people signed up. And we're talking to brand owners to give us testimonials and to direct their contract manufacturers to join as well. We are looking at the technical piece now, um, how to dramatically increase the functionality, because we know what we want to do, because not only the financial benefits but the sustainability benefits. So carbon saved, water saved. It's
Yeah.
very important to us. It's a very important selling point for the platform, and we want to be able to feed that back to the clients, the customers who are using it, so they can report as part of their sustainability reporting process. So we're also having all the conversations with the technical people as well to say what's the path forward from a working model into a full functionality system. So, and we're sort of on the verge with signing people up. We're on the verge. So this winter, so we're recording this in October. I'm sure it'll go out sometime later. this winter we will be launching the whole platform.
Awesome. Yeah, it'll be launched and you'll be getting all sorts of inquiries. Like, this is going to be so good. I'm excited about this. So, where do you see the business 5 years from now? Like, what in a perfect world would it look like?
So it will be, first of all, a very active marketplace. I mean, we've structured it so that it succeeds by transactions. So if we attract the right people and give them the right incentives to both buy and sell, because obviously we need both people. It's no good having somebody who just uploads their material and then just waits for somebody to buy it. We need them to be both active buyers and sellers. So we need to set it up with the incentives to be very active in the marketplace. So in 5 years, it would be a very active marketplace. Uh, the companies we're talking to are multinationals, global players. So there's obviously a path forward into Europe to begin with. I mean, because I know that very well. But internationally, there's a path forward internationally, just within the personal care industry. And then, I mean, again, everyone we speak to, the adjacent industries all have exactly the same problem. So whether you're talking to farmer people, whether you're talking to agricultural, feedstocks industry, whoever, oil industry, whoever you speak to has exactly the same problem. So again, there's a great opportunity to expand sideways into adjacent industries. So I think but again, I'd like to deal with what we can deal with now, and the challenge now is to get it up as a trusted, active, working platform with lots of active transactions between the companies that are there at the beginning. That then itself generates cash, and once you're generating cash, then you have the opportunity for more investment at a reasonable valuation, so that we can be in control of the expansion. But there are lots of other areas, and again, every time we talk to people about it, they say, well, it would be useful if we could do this with packaging, for example. And yeah, packaging's good, except a lot of packaging is printed packaging, which makes it unique, which is not suitable for this kind of trading. But every time we talk to a client, they usually come up with something where they say, okay, that would be, if you could move off into this direction in the near future, then that would also be very attractive to us to do business as well.
Yeah. No, I know so many manufacturers where you get down to the wire because, well, before we started the podcast, you had talked about, let's go into that a little bit, because you had talked about what really steams the market and takes things off, especially when it comes to cosmetics, because it's different today than what it was 15 years ago.
I mean, totally different. Well, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when P&G did market tests. So they had market tests in certain towns and so on, and place a product on the market for a few
Yes,
months, see how it went, and then launch.
I was
Now
part
that
of some of those.
but that was big packaged goods. I mean, it's a little different from the real or from the smaller volume, more individual cosmetics business. But anyway, I go back as far as that. So that's all gone. Just now, people just launch and launch full of hope. And the pressure these days is on launching fast. So people want to launch in months now. Again, it doesn't seem long ago to me that a launch timetable would be a year and a half. Now that they're talking in terms of months. And when somebody has a brand, a shade, a color, a new kind of moisturizer with a hot new ingredient, then everyone wants a duplicate within 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. So there's pressure on, again, the contract manufacturers who do their own formulations to come up with that they get given a hero products and say, okay, duplicate this. I need it in Sephora in
Yes.
4 months. And
Yes.
so everything has accelerated so fast, which again is why the business is targeted the way it is, and why we're launching the business in this particular industry, because it is so driven by trends. When I spoke earlier about the health, wellness, and well-being, I meant it. I mean, this is daily practices that we do with our face, our body, whatever it is. and those things are important. And many of those things are sort of routine, and people fall in love and will be very loyal to a brand. But there are many other parts of the cosmetics industry where it really is the hot new fashion today. And what I bought 6 months ago, I've already stopped using, or 3 months ago, I've already stopped using. I'm onto the hot new trend as well. So
Yeah.
that whole business dynamic helps us, because we set out with the goal that no raw material, once a raw material has been bought to go into a product, it should go into a product. It should not then end up in a disposal area somewhere,
Right.
costing the environment in terms of carbon and water to dispose of it. We need to do everything that we can to find a home for it so that it goes into a product. We won't be able to match everything. So another part of the platform is, if you do, so those materials which you've loaded onto the platform, which you've not been able to find a buyer for, then disposal companies, they tend to be incumbent relationships. So people have been around for a long time, because again, disposal is highly regulated. You want all the full documentation for disposal. It's an area of the business that you cannot afford to mess around with,
Right.
and therefore suppliers tend to be incumbent suppliers once you've found one. So another part of the platform is to, once you get materials which have to be disposed, set up an auction amongst the disposal companies so that you can get a competitive bid, again, with people who are part of the platform and therefore trusted in the platform, to do a proper disposal job and give you the documentation, but under the circumstances of a competitive bid, instead of just paying whatever an incumbent supplier thinks is right to charge you.
Yeah, it's crazy the world that we live in today and how things have gotten so expedited, and the pressure of being not only first to launch but also quickly, just because maybe there's a new TikTok, like something that everybody's
Yeah.
doing. And that social media, people I think really underestimate what it has really done to the market. So having a chief compliance officer that's making sure like the quality of the product is doing what it's supposed to do, because it's essential, and it will ruin businesses because we're so quick to launch and we can't throw these things out the window. We got to mitigate that risk.
I mean, another aspect that I haven't mentioned yet is that if I'm interested in buying a raw material, then I may be in a rush to get the material. On the platform, I've got the all the details of the material, and a certificate analysis for the raw material, and I can decide either to buy it as it is, or I can say no, I want it tested. So, and I can have it either tested against the original specification, or I can say,
Right.
well, I've got some additional requirements. So particle size distribution is important to me. It's not on the spec, but it is important to me. So we have an independent laboratory who we can arrange. So between the buyer and the seller is anonymous at this stage. So again, we're not publicizing, okay, who sat on a load of raw materials. That's all anonymous.
That would be bad.
Yeah, all the way up to buy. Once you've got a sales agreement between the buyer and the seller, then they know who each other is because they have to organize the shipment. But all the way up to then, it's anonymous. But on the platform, the buyer can say, no, I want this tested. So, and I've got a choice to test it either against the original spec or against my own spec. And we have an independent laboratory who will organize and we'll get the sample sent from the seller to the lab. The lab does the testing, provides the information, and again, the buyer can decide to go ahead with the purchase or not. So again, it's all part of that trustworthiness of making sure that you know the quality of the materials that you're buying.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, I love this. Unfortunately, though, I could talk to you all day long, but unfortunately, we only have so much time. And so this has been a very interesting story, and it is such a fabulous concept. I'm super thrilled that you're doing this. So I do have a couple of rapid fire questions. So we're going to go through these. Are you
Yep,
ready?
yep, I'll try.
All right. So what is the key to success for you?
Well, hard work. I mean, look, I listen to the How I Built This podcast very frequently, and one of Garaz's last questions is how much was luck and how much was hard work. And there's an awful lot of hard work, but there's a lot of luck as well. The as we've talked about, it's the circumstances of the. I'm sorry, you did say it was fast question answer, didn't you?
Rapid
But
fire.
it's yeah, but it's the circumstances of the business which is just getting more and more quick, fast paced, and environmental concerns are getting more and more deep. So being in the right place at the right time with the right business idea, I think, is tremendously important.
Yes.
However, you have to have the background, you have to have the understanding, you have to understand reality. I think it's tremendously important in a business to say, I know that I'm solving a problem. This business will take a problem that you are dealing with, and I will solve it for you. I think I see so many businesses that don't succeed where I'm a solution looking for a problem. I've got this whizzy new computer system, but I'm looking for a problem that I can solve with it. So I think it is tremendously important that to do a lot of then just grinding hard work, because you've got to deliver the platform, you've got to convince people, you've got to talk to them, and live up to the promise. So once somebody's signed up, then you have to deliver. I mean, there is you. They will only. It's like repeat purchase on a cosmetic product. People will buy it again if they love it and it does what it says. People will only stay with a business if you solve their problem every time, and listen to them and move the business along in the direction that they want, that they need to make their own life easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is a fun question. If there was a little bit of magic dust that you could sprinkle on a part of the business, what would it be?
The technical piece, I'm sure. So just having immediately today a fully operating platform, which is totally reliable and has full functionality that we require.
Yeah, because getting all the ducks in a row,
Yeah.
that's intense. And especially when you're dealing with the quality and specs. And I've seen these documents, it's a lot.
Yes.
All right. So before we get to the final question of the day, can you please share with our audience how they can follow you, learn more, and contact you? Because we need people to invest in you too.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn. So Geoff Waby on LinkedIn. You can find me. My email is jeffwaby@gmail.com. So you can contact me that way. So yeah, please do. Please follow up if you want to know more.
Awesome. Well, we've come to that final question of the day. What is most inspiring to you today?
Today,
Mm.
well, I've reached a certain age in my role where just passing on knowledge to other younger people. So one thing I haven't spoken about is I do some I created a course through PCPC, which is the industry association in for the large companies in the cosmetics industry, personal care industry, and we created a whole graduate certificate course with the University of Cincinnati for manufacturing hygiene, which is tackling all the adverse problems of microbiological contamination. So we created that, and just having the opportunity to pass all that knowledge and information on to the next generation, because and we had a lot of industry experts who have contributed to all of the training material, and the students love it. What they love is they're getting it from people who are seasoned and have been through the problems. And what we get out of it is, yeah, we learned the hard way, and the more we can lay a path and share that with younger people to give them a good start, the better, because they'll have their own challenges in life and they'll have to go through their own difficulties. But if we can give them something to get started, then that's best. So that's I love doing that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, this was such a great conversation. I love that you're also giving back to our community because that's the whole point of doing these podcasts is really allowing others to know there are some really great businesses that are a part of our community and they're really giving back to our youth and our people to really raise the bar. And there's some really great kindness in that. So thank you, Jeff, for doing that.
No, no, you're very welcome, mate. As I say, it's its own reward. But thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really enjoyed hearing your story about Kimika. I can't wait for it to be fully launched and operational and thriving very successfully. So thank you for sharing.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed the whole discussion.
Awesome. Also, I encourage all of you who are watching, again, like and subscribe because you're going to want to come back to this as Chemica is in the infant stages, but it's going to get launched and they're going to be phenomenal because they have some really great people that are behind this organization. And there's a huge need too. So definitely like, subscribe, come back, watch again and again because Geoff had some really great information to share to the group today. So, again, thanks everyone. Special thank you to Geoff Waby with Chemica. We are very blessed to have you, and thank you again.
Thank you very much.